The Night Stalker TV.
The house came to Daniel after his mother died. Not as a gift, not even as a surprise, more like something waiting patiently to be returned. He hadn't spoken to her in years, not since the night she tried to convince him their family wasn't entirely human. When the lawyer called, Daniel almost refused the inheritance outright. But debt has a way of changing your mind. So 3 weeks later, he drove with his younger sister Leela to the isolated property at the edge of a dying town, carrying only boxes, resentment, and a feeling he couldn't explain. The house looked smaller than he remembered. Narrow windows, weather-beaten wood, a roof that seemed to sag like it was tired of standing. Leela stepped out of the car first. "Feels wrong," she muttered. Daniel forced a laugh. "It's just old." But when he unlocked the door, the smell that greeted them wasn't dust or rot. It was incense, fresh, burning. Inside, the house was untouched. Furniture covered in sheets, family photos still lining the walls, and dozens of miniature models in glass cases, their mother's obsession. Tiny replicas of rooms, people posed in frozen scenes. Daniel approached one case. It was a model of the living room they were standing in, every detail perfect. Except, inside the miniature room were two figures, one shaped like him, one like Leela, standing exactly where they stood now. Leela noticed. That wasn't here before. Daniel closed the case quickly. Just ignore it. But neither of them did. That night, Leela woke to a clicking sound, soft, rhythmic. She stepped into the hallway, following it downstairs. Click, click, click. In the living room, one display case stood open. The miniature inside had changed. The tiny version of Leela was now positioned at the staircase, facing upward toward where she stood. Behind her, click. She spun. Nothing there, just darkness stretching into the hall. The next morning, Daniel discovered their mother's study unlocked. Inside were journals stacked across the desk. He skimmed through entries filled with symbols, diagrams, and repeated phrases. The inheritance must continue. Blood opens the door. He waits through the children. Daniel scoffed until he found photographs, candles arranged in circles, neighbors he recognized standing in ritual robes, his own mother kneeling before a carved symbol burned into the floorboards, and one photo of himself, sleeping, taken recently. He didn't tell Leela. Instead, he suggested they leave early, sell the place quickly. But that afternoon, the car wouldn't start, battery dead, phone signal gone, and the road to town blocked by construction that hadn't existed yesterday. It felt less like coincidence and more like permission being revoked. That night, Daniel dreamed. He stood inside one of the miniature rooms, unable to move. Huge shapes loomed outside, blurred faces staring in. He heard his mother's voice whisper, "You were always part of it." He woke on the living room floor. Candles burned around him, symbols drawn in ash, and Leela sitting opposite, eyes wide, confused. "I didn't do this," she said. Neither had he. The clicking returned, louder now, from the walls, from the ceiling, from inside their heads. Daniel searched the attic. That's where he found it. A shrine. Photographs of their family across generations, strangers surrounding them in each image, watching, guiding, waiting. At the center sat a wooden figure crowned with twisted wire. Not human, not animal, something older, and carved beneath it, "We prepare the vessel." The clicking exploded behind him. Daniel turned. Leela stood in the doorway, smiling too wide. Her voice layered, doubled. "They chose you first, but you resisted." She stepped closer. "So I will open instead." Daniel grabbed her shoulders, shook her. She collapsed, gasping, herself again. Neither spoke about what happened, because both understood something. This wasn't possession, it was inheritance. That night, the house shifted. Doors opened on their own, footsteps echoed overhead, miniatures rearranged themselves. Daniel watched helplessly as a new model appeared in the case, a replica of the attic shrine, two tiny figures kneeling before it, one missing its head. Desperate, Daniel burned the journals. Flames devoured the pages. The clicking stopped. Silence fell. For a moment, he thought it worked, until Leela screamed. He found her staring into a mirror. Her reflection moved half a second slower than she did. Then, it smiled independently. The lights died, and voices filled the house. Not threatening, not angry, joyful, welcoming. From the darkness, dozens of figures emerged. Neighbors, strangers, familiar faces from photographs, standing in reverence. Daniel tried to run. Hands held him still. They whispered, "Don't fight what built you." Morning came quietly. Police later reported finding the house empty. No Daniel, no Leela, just dust-covered rooms and abandoned furniture. And inside a glass display case, a miniature model of the property. Two tiny figures standing in the attic shrine, frozen, watching, waiting for the next family member to inherit the house.